her first pediatrician appointment, so I don't think I can do DTNS. I was like, I didn't say anything. I was like, I don't expect you to do DTNS for
if he
months.
shows up for a DTNS in the first 2 months, he's gonna hear from me.
Yeah, it's
and
just
I suspect
so awesome
that won't be the only
even
one.
Thinks about that. Yeah. Like, oh, I guess I could.
Yeah,
he's not used to it yet.
Yeah.
No, I know. And he said something about like, yeah, apparently they need to be fed every 3 hours. I think I'm going to get really tired. Yeah, you are.
That's great, though. I love it.
Man, I wish it was just like a Tumblr of faces of dads.
Yes.
When they realize things.
Faces of dads would be a great Tumblr. Like first, what's that one that Will Smith made? I love, not Will Smith the actor, Will Smith the tech guy. Called the first frame GoPro or something. Anyway, it's that first awkward turn on the GoPro frame where it's always your face.
Yeah.
Really funny. People looking down their nose at it like some kind of grandpa. Not that there's anything wrong with being a grandpa. I'm just saying.
Wait, what?
Grandpas are okay. That's all I'm saying.
You're just preparing yourself.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it. They're nowhere near wanting to have a kid, but still. It's in dangerous distance.
Let me put it this way. Before the instance ever stops recording.
Oh my gosh. That's a way to put it. I hadn't thought of it that way. Before the next expansion to World of Warcraft.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, probably not.
That one's more, little more specific.
Maybe a lot more if they if he's really going to go into med school, it'll be a while.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm hoping. I mean, I'm looking forward to spoiling the kid as much as anybody, but I don't want to be referred to as a grandparent. I'm only 45.
I think you're already a parent.
I'm a parent with grandiose designs.
Delusions of grandeur.
Really, that's what I meant.
That's not what I meant.
Couldn't get that out, but yeah.
Your grandparenting is apparent on the Instagram.
See? Oh, you've been hanging around Tom way too much.
By George, she's got it.
This is from birth. I was born and raised by punsters.
Wow.
Oh, it's terrible.
Well, good. I'm glad because this will be a perfect episode then because we all enjoy them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're there. They're there for you.
They're there for the taking.
Fasten your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen.
They're low-hanging fruit. All right. Well, let's get this low-hanging fruit off this tree and record a thing.
Is my Moby Grape cover band.
You would mention Moby on the one day I've listened to Moby in about the last 6 years. I listened to Moby.
Well, I said Moby Grape.
Oh, you did all right.
Well, as soon as you say Moby, that's what everybody thinks of.
Yeah. I used to kind of be a huge fan, and then I fell off for a long time. And then today I just saw a new album, and I went, oh, I should check that out. And
I just always think of Veronica now because apparently he visited her college radio station when she worked there.
What? Oh, yeah. Just not
Get
see her.
To tell you the story sometime.
All right. I'm curious about that guy. He's an interesting dude. I'm Moby curious. Chat room, you guys are comfy? Everyone's good in there? Great. That's wonderful.
Oh, Mew Cow. Mew Cow has a request.
New Cow, what's happening?
Mew Cow wanted to know how the knitted gavel is doing. So,
look at that.
Knitted gavel McLeod is doing quite well.
What?
Not as loud.
No. That's awesome.
Can't really hear it. But right over there.
Did Moo Cow make it?
I'm assuming. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Handicrafts. It's like our own Etsy store in here. I love it.
Was I expected to bring a stuffed animal?
No. You're okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah. We usually it's not necessarily something we turn you away for.
Right.
But
Mrs. Mew Cow made it. Okay.
Okay, all right.
Clarifying.
I wondered if there was a Mrs. Mew Cow. Not that a man Moo Cow couldn't make it. He could have. We are no distinguishers of gender here.
Oh, that would be Kiwi _351.
Oh.
Hello.
All right.
Thank you for the gavel.
Nice. That is really cool.
It is really cool. I love it.
Does everything sound okay?
Yeah, you sound wonderful.
All right.
All right. Yeah, you seem less than convinced.
Well, we had mixer issues here last night, but I'm back on the simple setup.
No, you sound really good.
Should be okay.
Clarity is the word I would use.
All right.
Yeah.
In 1 minute, a bell is gonna ring.
Oh, good. What's that?
Should
your
let
alarm?
you know that before you start a show.
Is that your alarm for 5 or for 4?
No, the clock tower is going to bong.
Oh, save that clock tower.
Yeah.
This is for Gnomewise.
Oh, very nice.
Who requested a stuffed Ace Detect.
What? How did...
It's a stuff detect.
That's a stuff detect. That's incredible.
Wow.
I don't have that. What do I have?
I can't see what you have.
I have a Steve the Duck. Oh, yeah, because you guys can't see my video. That's true. But they can. All right. I think we're ready to go then. Let's do this. It is right on the hour. That's perfect time to start as far as I'm concerned. Let me hit record here. All right. We're good. We are on our way. Jenny, any questions? You good?
I guess I'll just ask them if I have them.
All right. We're so easy it hurts. So here we go. Begins in 3, 2, 1.
I have
Current Geek. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Current Geek. This is Current Geek, the weekly proceedings of the meetings of the Frog Pants All-Stars. Geeks of the world and you to keep you current on all things that matter most. I'm Scott Johnson. That's Tom Merritt. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Scott Johnson. I'm Tom Merritt.
What's going on, man?
They tore down my porch today.
What? So do tell. Why? What's going on there? What happened?
They're building a new one.
Oh.
The porch has this overhang over it, basically. So the porch is actually still there, but the overhang is gone. They pulled it out.
So when they discover the bodies, what's your plan? You have a backup plan, right?
There really isn't a lot of room in an overhang for bodies, so I'm feeling okay so far.
Okay, good. All right.
But as soon as they did that, it made it rain in Los Angeles. It's kind of amazing.
Wow, that's insane. You guys having one of the worst droughts on record, and then suddenly all this weather.
There's like a thunderstorm, or we should bring in our guest because she might know.
She might know.
I am also in LA.
What? Oh my gosh. All right, everybody, stop what you're doing. Welcome to the show with us, please. Jenny Josephson. Hello, Jenny.
Hello.
Now, I know Jenny most because she's the reason that DTNS works every day so flawlessly for Tom.
I'm such a 10% of that reason. I cannot take more than 10%. But
you are busy and about all kinds of cool things. Anything in particular you'd like to mention as far as your origin story?
Oh, my origin story. I started in mainstream media when I was a baby at 21.
Whoa.
And then I have proceeded in concentric circles outward.
You were
away.
A baby at 21?
Yeah,
Your mom must have carried you forever.
I was a baby. I was a little CBS baby, and now I am out in the wide world, and it's awesome.
Well, that's great. Out there kicking butt and taking names and doing all sorts of grown-up media things, both traditional and new media, which is great.
And Jenny is way more than 10% of the reason that DTNS kicks ass.
I agree. Completely agree. But you've long been on the list, and it's always nice to have a fresh new face who has not been on the show before, and you're soloing it as a guest today, which is also fun. So tuck in, Jenny.
Hey, Jenny. So since we're both in LA and Scott's in Salt Lake City, we outnumber him. I think we should point out all the California connections.
Yeah, but Felicia Day is in Salt Lake tonight, so I got a little. You
know
more.
where Felicia lives? Los Angeles, California connection.
Yeah.
Oh, good
We're
point.
We're just all gonna go to the beach and go surfing.
Yeah, man. Sounds like a great time. If you were at Nerdtacular last year, chances are you saw Jenny hanging around and doing panels and stuff. Yeah, she was here as well. So it's really good to have you on. Let's get right to the top stories.
Herbert Hoover, Secretary of Commerce in 1922, finds infant radio facilitates news gathering, as do many others in high public office.
Here to prove it, Tom Merritt.
Hey, I'm the first person to tell all of you this. The Game of Thrones trailer is... Oh, wait. You mean the entire internet already told you? Yeah. Game of Thrones trailer's out. If you didn't know, well, now you do. It's actually coming into the IMAX theaters as part of the IMAX theater presentation of the last 2 episodes of the season in IMAX. But it's now online. There's a bunch of stills from season 5. Season 5 premieres April 12th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So 7 p.m. Mountain Time on HBO. Are you excited?
I am beyond excited. I can't wait. I love the show, and the new season has me excited. The trailer, when I saw this trailer, it was just a leaked, someone videotaped it in a small viewing room type video. I assume what's happened here, because I've seen some legit ones now pop up. I assume what happened is HBO said, all right, well, it's out there now. Kind of did a Marvel Avengers thing and just said, let's just push the whole thing out. I don't know that for sure, but I'll tell you, the use of that "We Could Be Heroes" song is really cool. And not unlike the Avengers 2 trailer, it's taking an old familiar tune and kind of twisting it and putting a little dark in there and making it something fresh and new. And I'm pretty stoked. It's also the point in the story where I'm generally kind of caught up with where the show is now. So I've read everything mostly up to this point. I know there's some things that they've shown that don't happen till like book 5, even last season.
So wait, you haven't read?
I have not read
the Dragons.
I have not read the final book. About to dive in.
They've already spoiled part of that book.
Yeah, big parts of it, I've heard, or that's what I've been told. So that'll be interesting to do that, to read and catch up and see. And I read the 4th book kind of while all this was happening last time, but still much of this story is still in the 3rd book. So, it's a little bit weird how it's all getting spread out, but I'm very excited. Jenny, how are you? What's your temperature?
Oh, I'm so excited. Between Game of Thrones coming back in April and Outlander coming back in April, it's like, bring on the female gaze. But what I love about this trailer is like this trend. You mentioned it. Like somewhere in New York, there's like this secure room where all the trailer producers go, and they're like, okay, Age of Ultron, you get the creepy Pinocchio song. Game of Thrones, you get David Bowie, and they're like, all right, Gone Girl, you can have She. Like it's a legitimate now three movie trend.
Yeah, it is interesting that they keep doing it, and I think it's interesting because it's like, well, in the case of Disney, they own the rights to that Pinocchio deal, which was this Disneyfied version of that. That song was theirs, so they could just use it willy-nilly and not really worry about it. But it is an interesting trend to say, hey, here's something familiar that you've heard a billion times, and maybe it ties back to your childhood and has this flavor of, I know what that is. Why do I know that song? But then they're going to present it in a way that is so different, like a completely different kind of cover, and change the way you feel about it, but also retain that weird nostalgia and the meaning behind a song like that Hero song. Like, I think it's a really cool trend, but I suspect by the end of this year, if this continues, we're all going to be talking about how much we hate it now.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing that a really good trailer can't be ruined by is like 800 mediocre trailers right after it for, the same trend. So, yeah. But I've been reading the Game of Thrones, that giant encyclopedia that they put out at Christmas time that is like what George R.R. Martin has been doing instead of writing the books.
Yeah.
George R. R. Martin authorized it, but he didn't work on it. So
okay, well, so there's all this.
Hold your hate letters to New Mexico, ladies and gentlemen.
There's all this like amazing data in that book that I've been like going through really at a page at a time, and it's made me like even more excited for the return of the show because it's a pretty well done book.
Yeah, I want to get my hands on that. I never, I heard about it, forgot about it, and since just haven't gotten around to it. But that seems like something I would really get into, and it would go nicely with my life.
I've got it on my coffee table. It's just pick it up and dive in at any point. It's amazing.
Is it like, so I have these Star Trek encyclopedias that are really rad, and they go into great detail. This is how the teleporters work, and here's how the food, like that one. Man, it's not so much impressive the things Tom has. It's impressive the proximity to him at any given time that they are. That's what impresses me, sir. That you can just reach out and grab the thing I'm talking about. But this is not the first time this has happened. But anyway, is it like that? Is it illustrated? Is it that sort of thing? Where, it's like an encyclopedia type reference?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's this huge coffee table sized book that is made to look like bound leather, and it really goes all the way back to the first men, and it's really cool because it's one of those books that's like I actually can't say, but it is to a character and the entire history of that world given to a character at a critical time in the narrative, and it's just amazing, and the beautiful illustrations, and it's just like all that stuff that goes by at 90 miles an hour in the TV show that maybe you didn't get the first time you read the book is presented in this very nice bite-size portion. I love it.
I'm gonna have to grab it finally and check it out. My daughter's reading the books now. I feel like she's old enough. It's like, all right, you're 17, you can read them. She loves a good fantasy book, and she is completely into it. And the other day, so I'm sitting here, just share a little anecdotal moment, and I'm working, and my phone rings, and I pick it up, and it's my daughter who's just getting out of like a study period where they could read, and yelling into her phone over my computer speakers. I'm getting over my computer. How angry she is over the Red Wedding because she had just gotten to it and hasn't seen the show. So she had no any idea what was coming. And to see that reaction on somebody other than me is really satisfying.
Well, it's like a nerd parent coming of age moment.
Yeah.
Like you've now had we have to talk about the red wedding.
Exactly. Now that that's past us, we can move on to whatever's next.
Yeah,
Anyway.
the two best moments of watching Game of Thrones with Eileen, my wife, was when Eddard Stark met his moment,
His destiny,
in
sure.
season one, and she was standing behind the couch, and that happens, and she's like, "What kind of a show is this?" Because she's like, Ned Bean, I love Ned, right?
Yeah.
And then the Red Wedding, just, you know, it was the typical. I don't have as much of a story about that one, but just like watching her jaw drop and like shrink back into the couch and
Yeah.
squeal no, and it was like, yep.
My wife said, "I don't know if I can keep going," is what she said to me. She goes, "Are you?" She looks at me and she goes, "Really?" I said, "Yep." And I had read this, I knew this was coming. And I kind of did that. I've read this book before, nod at her. And she said, "I don't know if I can keep doing this." I said, "Come on, you have to keep doing it." She goes, "I need a day to think about it." So, after a little bit of thought, she's fine. She's all back in. But that was a rough moment for sure. And this doesn't spoil anything. Just know that something called the Red Wedding is a big deal.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're like big Cardinals fans, and they have a wedding.
That's right.
So they're all dressed in red. Arizona.
And 5% of the profit goes to charities in Africa.
Well, let's
Fun.
see if HBO this year starts putting HBO over a subscription online only service, and if they do, how am I going to get the speed I need to get really good quality HBO?
Real quickly before we move on to that, sorry. The Game of Thrones trailer I found is on Facebook in the official Game of Thrones Facebook account.
Oh, all right, good.
So it's not pirated anymore. This is official. It's not leaked.
Nice.
And I did want to mention that the publisher, Random House, said today that we will not get Winds of Winter in 2015.
Oh, all right.
Not that we're surprised, but I just thought I'd throw that out. All right. Nethken pointed out to us on the subreddit, currentgeek.reddit.com, I would advise all of you to go there, submit things, and even if you can't submit things, vote. Because I look very closely at those vote numbers when we put the show together. Nethken pointed out Atlanta, Nashville, Charlotte, and Raleigh-Durham in North Carolina will all be getting Google Fiber, according to Google. Google will begin to work on those cities, with those cities to design and plan and install the networks, begin construction in the next few months. Google also said, Scott, that it's still looking at Phoenix, Portland, San Antonio, San Jose, and Salt Lake City as future cities.
Oh, please bring it to my future city. So it's already in Provo, which is not far from me, but far enough that I'd have to move. So I can't. I don't want to do that. Has anybody here had direct experience with? I mean, we look at it as this godlike internet that finally people will have their hands on, and we too can live like the South Koreans or whatever. But has anyone actually used it and come away going, "Wow, that is a substantial paradigm shift for my broadband"?
No, I haven't. I have Verizon Fios. I pay for a business connection. I get 300 megabits per second down, and that is stunning. I can't imagine gigabit.
A gigabit should just be LAN, right? I mean, you're just on it's like it's no longer even a question. It's like, I wonder how long this page will take to load, or how long this video will take to buffer.
Anything like that's smaller than like really high definition video or 4K video is probably at the mercy of the servers as far as how fast you're going to get it. It not going to have much to do with your connection.
Jenny, excited?
Hello, my name is Jenny. I live in Los Angeles. I do not have Google Fiber.
Oh, no. But Mayor Garcetti said that he has opened up LA to anybody who would like to give us gigabit fiber. He's not going to do anything to, encourage them. But other than
I'm
that,
paying $320 a month for like 5 up and like maybe 30 down. Talk to me when they announce LA, and then I'll be happy. But I'm very happy for all those other cities.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to be a little bit jealous about it, but it is interesting to see where they're rolling it out. I'm not really sensing any patterns here, except that none of them seem to be big, way steeped in its old infrastructure type cities. I mean, never are any of these launch cities New York or, LA or
No, it has to do with having a city where it would be affordable to roll it out, and the city itself is amenable to working with Google on easing the kind of approvals and rights of way and things like that they'd have to get.
Sure, that makes sense. And then if you've got
why they jumped out of San Francisco, because San Francisco is notoriously difficult to build anything in, not even just internet.
I think a big part of that, though, is just it's such a tech savvy city. It's such a place where innovations come, and it's revered as one of the great cities of great
San
thinkers.
Jose's on the list, and that's even more so.
That's true. I don't know.
It's that San Francisco is difficult to build anything because nobody wants anything dug up at any time, anywhere.
Ever. Yeah.
Ever. Yeah.
Not even bodies in Tom's porch, although that's in LA. They're okay with that.
No, I left all the bodies in San Francisco when I moved.
You left your bodies in... I know the old song.
I left my heart and the body around it.
Right. I see. Well, if anyone else out there is excited about their city getting it soon, let us know what you think. currentgeek@gmail.com, because we are stoked about it. And why are you excited? Is it just that it's Google? Is it exciting because the speeds are going to be what they're going to be? Is your 25 meg down doing it for you and you don't care? I would love to hear more about what people think.
Dee Basinge sent us the news that the new Ghostbusters movie may have its cast. Well, at least it has one. Melissa McCarthy is confirmed to star in the movie. Whoa. Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones are the other three. They're all in negotiations. And much of the internet is displeased at the idea of all women. Is that true, Jenny? Jenny wrote this, by the way. Are they really displeased at the idea of all women?
There was a strong wave of displeasure that rolled through the internet yesterday when this news came out. And I represent the portion of the internet that is super thrilled about this.
Yeah,
because
Justin, Robert Young, and I on Twitter were going nuts about Leslie Jones in particular.
Oh, she is magnificent. Like, I don't know if everybody has seen SNL because, like, in a non-election year, maybe not everybody's watching it. But so Leslie Jones is this 47-year-old African-American woman who's been doing stand-up comedy forever. She's just having one of those, like, careers under the radar, and she knows everybody. And then she ends up as a writer on SNL. But she has something that nobody has had for years on SNL, which is John Belushi's sort of magnificent anarchy. It's behind her eyes. It's in her body. It's just in her voice. Like, anytime she gets behind that update desk, it is a sight to see. I love her. And the idea that she's going to be in this, and with Kate McKinnon, who's like one of my SNL heroes. And I think if the overall thing is, like, if there was an SNL election year with a overall stronger cast, these two would be superstars already. It's just sort of waiting for the right moment.
It's funny because I feel like the upset is different than the normal. So there's always this thing: you're ruining my childhood. You took a movie and you're remaking it, or whatever. This happens all the time. Like, it's nothing new to have Hollywood say we're making RoboCop and have everybody fall apart because they're making a new RoboCop. And I'm a big proponent of, we need to divorce ourselves from the idea that there is something that there is even something there to destroy, that our childhood memories of entertainment are somehow sacred and that nobody should mess with them. We can be displeased with the remake, we can not like it or whatever, but this idea that it's somehow, sacrilegious to make a new, I don't know, Back to the Future movie is kind of ridiculous and dumb. But this had a tone, the anger and the outburst, at least the stuff I witnessed, had this tone of a continuation of a different conversation, which we don't have to totally get into here, but a lot of people are upset, I think, simply because when you're online and you're constantly reading Twitter and everything else, and you're getting bombarded with information, you've been hearing tons about Gamergate, you've been hearing tons about misogyny online and what we can do to change it. And here's one more thing where they're now going to, again, from their perspective, they're going to force an all-lady Ghostbusters movie down our throat because they just want to make sure that the women, blah, blah, blah. That's what I saw a lot of. And that made me really sad because I don't particularly, like, Melissa McCarthy kind of drives me crazy. Her thing she does, I'm kind of tired of that thing. But it has nothing to do with her gender. You could have put Adam Sandler there, and I said, well, I'm kind of tired of his thing, or whoever. My thing is, I'm just excited that they're going to actually approach this from a different angle, not try to make a sequel and force all the guys that are still with us in there, trying to force this thing to adhere to, quote unquote, my childhood memories. I want them to be to try a different angle with familiar territory, and that feels like what they're doing. So I'm over the moon. I think it sounds awesome.
And
but
you
Scott,
know,
it's about ethics and journalism.
I'm not even going to go there, but I'll just say, you know, that all the surviving members of the Ghostbusters will eventually show up in that movie in some capacity. And I will, not a forecast, but Bill Murray's going to be in that movie if Dan Aykroyd has to throw him over his shoulder and drag him to set. It's just going to happen. And so everybody who's like all stressed out about it, it's like, it's okay. And these are like some of the 4 funniest women in comedy today. And I will say, if it makes you feel better about Melissa McCarthy, I've seen her do live improv at the Groundlings here in LA. And, everybody always runs into some sort of, not a typecasting thing, but a mode they're comfortable in. But she is a wicked improver. She is brilliant and fast on her feet and incredibly clever. And I feel like the strength of the improv in that movie is going to make it just a good, funny movie. Like, I have faith.
Yeah, I just if they make her she's the embarrassing, sweary, jerky, whatever, one that's uncouth in all social situations character, like she's been given a lot of roles like that lately. I'm not even saying it's her fault, but that's what she's been given, and these are the roles she's been taking. If they don't do that, that'll be fine. But I think those are legitimate questions about the production. It's like, oh, well, how are they going to do this? Will they typecast her? Hopefully not. Well, these others that's interesting because on SNL, we know what they are there, but they're unknown. We know Kristen Wiig's got chops for movies. Is she the Peter Venkman? Do we even know if they're going to go for those archetypes? Like, all of those things I think are valuable conversations to have, but just simply people going, I cannot believe they're making an all-girl version of Ghostbusters is the most silly thing I've ever heard. And they are all forgetting. Here's my biggest problem.
Wait a minute. Are they all 4 women?
My problem with it is that no one seems to remember just how bad Ghostbusters 2 was. Ghostbusters 2 was a bad movie and a terrible
We must
sequel.
never forget, says Scott.
So everybody, you want to complain about a thing that we have quantifiable information about. This is the thing that hasn't been made yet, so we can't even judge it. We can judge 2, and it was poop.
I liked it.
Oh, that's a terrible film.
It was, but I liked it.
All right, well, at least you know it was bad. It's okay to like bad movies. I watch Waterworld once a year.
Wait. Were all 4 of the Ghostbusters in the original movie men?
Yeah, every one of them. Yeah, except, I
don't see gender, so.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, you thought, Rick Moranis was great in Alien. I thought he was great in that.
I'm told he's a man. I believe it.
And if they don't, some people are like, well, wouldn't it be funny if they just straight up made a remake and her name was like, Petunia Venkman instead of Peter, and they just do that across the line? That's kind of a terrible idea. But part of me wants to see that,
Yeah.
You want to see Egon Spengler honored in some
sure,
plot-centric way. That's really important.
That's gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's to me, that's the greatest shame, and you kind of want to yell at Bill Murray a little bit, but there's a million factors that go into making a movie like that. Is like, because it didn't come together in time, like, we're not going to have exactly what we want in that movie, so why not go in a bold new direction?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, and your idea of Ray, a.k.a. Dan Aykroyd, literally carrying Bill Murray in on his back is actually kind of a cool plot point.
Probably how it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'd like that.
It's like one of the 5 people that knows where that guy lives.
Sure.
Like, it's going to happen.
Sure. Anyway, it'll be interesting.
Actually, I'm just writing the movie, which is stupid because they're going to write the movie and they're professionals. But I'm like, you could do it where the Bill Murray character from the original Ghostbusters is someone they want to advise them and they can't get him.
Yeah.
And so you're left guessing through the movie, is he actually going to be in it or not? And then he gets carried in, like maybe that character doesn't want to have anything to do with the new Ghostbusters, kind of reflecting real life.
Yeah, and some have pointed out that the Ghostbusters cartoon, which I think was called The Real Ghostbusters, wasn't that it? That had a really strong female lead as one of the Ghostbusters. So there's some precedence. I'm just saying, if your childhood's being ruined. Oh, I also read something funny. So it said, guys on the internet today, they're ruining Ghostbusters by putting all these women in it. And then below that it said, little girls say today, they've ruined My Little Pony by making it so I can't Google it or something. Like, I mean, you know what? It's just whatever it is, whatever it is, and it's going to be fine. And it may be garbage. I don't know until we get there. So judge not, man. Let's get there and let's see if it's any good or not. It'll be fine.
I mean, look, they put all women in Charlie's Angels, and that ended. Oh wait,
wait, Tom, you're still having trouble there with the gender.
All right. Captain Kipper and Deba Singe both let us know that David Tennant is a man. Whoa. And he will play the villain Kilgrave in the Netflix series Marvel's a.k.a. Jessica Jones, which premieres later this year. It's the Marvel series that's going to follow after Daredevil appears on Netflix. Kilgrave is called the Purple Man. So one would expect that David Tennant will show up purple.
Is this the one with, what's her name? Breaking Bad Season 2, and then the bee in rooms...
Kristen Ritter?
Kristen Ritter, that's it. Isn't that her in this?
I thought it was. I can't remember if that's a casting rumor or if that's like actually happening.
I thought that was a real dude.
Internet?
After casting Kristen Ritter in the lead role
you said
and
it.
Mike Coulter as Luke Cage, says the Verge story.
You got it then.
You got it. Yeah.
I like her. She's cool. So I'm excited about that. Excited about Tennant's involvement. Excited generally about the Netflix Marvel deal, sort of period. And I hope this works out because as much as I love the one-off film success and all that stuff is great, and I'm not complaining about that at all, some episodic, cool, well-made, high production value comic book-based stuff on some network, in this case Netflix, is a good thing for all of us. So pretty excited.
Did you watch the Doctor Who with David Tennant? Either of you?
I've seen none of the modern Doctor Who at all.
Me neither.
See, and that's why you guys are not reacting to this. This is huge among the Doctor Who fans because they're like, but Dr. Kilgrave, not Dr. Kilgrave, is bad. He's a bad person. David Tennant's going to be a bad person.
Be a bad man.
But it just kind of blows people's minds, right? Because
right.
It's the Doctor, and maybe they haven't watched Broadchurch. But Broadchurch, he's not evil. Here he's going to be evil. Like, I don't know the comic book character, but apparently Kilgrave is nasty.
He is bad. I don't have the connection. Once again, it's one of those things. I feel it's the one hole in my nerd card I can't fill. I don't know, what the hell's going on in Doctor Who.
Me neither.
I don't have this connection to these guys.
It's one of those things where, like, please explain to me where to start. Yeah. Because there's 60 years or 50 years or whatever's going on. It's like, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do.
We have a fan of the show, and I forgot his name. Oh, Tom, look at Tom.
Tom in the books.
The fact that he can reach it, that's the weird bit. So somebody in our this show's fan base sent me a primer, basically. And it was every episode broken down as to which ones you should see, what ones you should read about, and where you should start. And it looked kind of reasonable, and I meant to do it, and then I never did. So if I can find that, I'll forward it to Jenny. If you're listening and you're that person, maybe resend it to me, and I'll...
Start with him.
Really?
Chris Eccleston.
Yeah, you start with Eccleston and you move forward.
I mean, no, obviously, I get where people are like, oh, there's so much Doctor Who, I don't know where to start. Just start with the modern one. You can go back and pick up old ones later on if you get curious, but you don't even need to understand the new one.
Yeah. So we'll get there, Jenny, you and I, somehow, through the miracle of life, we'll figure it out and watch the damn thing.
Q2 goal.
All right.
Q2 goal.
There you have it. What's going on with Deadline Hollywood and their little story
Corporate synergy alert, Scott.
Uh-oh.
Captain Kipper would like you to know about the Deadline Hollywood article, as you mentioned, that says Disney is rumored to be considering Chris Pratt for a revival of the Indiana Jones franchise. Disney bought the rights from Paramount in 2013. If you're like, wait a minute, how are they doing Indiana Jones? Still just a rumor, of course, but after Guardians of the Galaxy, you could probably expect to see Chris Pratt rumored to be in everything for about the next 3 years.
Yeah, I suspect he will be. And I think this is pretty good. We talked about it earlier on the morning show this week, and I've had some time to think about it. And again, I'm not of the group who gets freaked out thinking my childhood memories are being besmirched. That already happened with Crystal Skull, so I'm over it now. And that was with the same people. And if they still couldn't get it right, I mean, you got to let go of that at some point and realize either they're going to make something good or they're not going to make something good. And that's where it should be judged. So my opinion of this is I don't have a problem with it. He's got just enough of the swagger and the archetype to do what Harrison Ford did, and also the sense of humor. I'm all for this. I have zero problem with new Indiana Jones movies, and hopefully good ones. And it probably means passing the torch, though. I doubt we have Spielberg behind all these or Lucas writing any of it. I think this is a passing of the guard.
Is that a bad thing?
No, probably not. I think that they peaked. I mean, some would say with Last Crusade, I would argue Temple of Doom. But that we could have a fight about that. I like Temple of Doom a lot.
I'll stand up for Last Crusade. I would do that.
I like Last Crusade. They're both good. I think Temple of Doom gets a bad rap. I think that's a way better movie than people think it is.
I like Crystal Skull vodka.
Oh, good. I'm glad you went on with that extra word. Yeah.
Here's my one thing, and I'm for Chris Pratt and all the things. That guy is adorable. He does comedy. He does adventure. He's got exactly the right thing. It's like if we could free Nathan Fillion from Castle Jail, I might have a different opinion, but we can't. So Chris Pratt and all the things, right? Mm-hmm. My only concern is this. So Disney, speaking of all the things, has all the things, right? They have my entire childhood. They have the Muppets. They have Marvel. They have just
actual Disney.
Indiana Jones
they have Pixar. They have everything. They have Star
everything.
Wars. My gosh, they have Star Wars.
Star Wars, right. And so here's my issue, which is we all think like, oh, Disney's killing it. They're knocking it out of the park. But Marvel is killing it, knocking it out of the park. And that's a very carefully walled garden. Now, Disney's making huge amounts of money and they're doing everything right. And they had Let It Go and they're having a really good thing. But like at some point, I just have weird Disney fears that it's going to turn again the way that Disney was amazing with the animated movies in the 90s, and then it's going to fall off and they're going to own all our properties.
It's entirely possible, and they do kind of own everything. I don't disagree with you at all. Like there is a all our eggs in one basket kind of thing happening with Disney right now. The big test for me is Star Wars this year. They pull that off. Great hopes arise for what they can do with other things like the Indiana Jones stuff. And all I'm asking for that is just good adventure movies with a true take on that character and set it as prequels before the Raider stuff, whatever you want to do. Make them real Tomb Raidy. Don't have aliens in them. Have them be about ancient cultures and weird unexplainable stuff. Go back to your Lost Ark roots, and I'm telling you, you'll have a killer series that could go on for more than 3 movies and really solidify Pratt as the star he's probably destined to be anyway.
That makes all the difference right there, because Chris Pratt to me is not Harrison Ford. He's not Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
He's Luke and Han combined, kind of.
Kind of,
right?
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
And so I need it to be a different story, whether it's a reboot and we get introduced to a new Indiana Jones and it's a Chris Pratt Indiana Jones, or whether, like you say, it's a prequel or it's Ohio Jones. I don't know, but I don't want it to be the biggest mistake, and I don't think they'll do this, is to try to put Chris Pratt in the Harrison Ford role.
Yeah. He's not going to do it.
Prequel sounds amazing.
Yeah, prequel will be fun. They did it with the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Those worked really well. Yeah. That was a really fun show, and that had nothing to do with Harrison Ford. So I think it can be done. You set it in a different time. You have different characters, different stuff. I think it totally could work. And I'm with you, Tom. They don't want to just do an impression. Some would say that Indiana Jones, if he could have his words, he would say these movies belong in a museum, Dad. But I don't agree. I think a new generation of people should be introduced to this amazingness without having to live through our bad production value stuff of the 80s. Let's bring this thing current. I'm not afraid.
Nobody minds when we reboot Shakespeare anymore.
No.
It just takes time.
Sure. Let's get another Othello going. Why not?
Yeah.
I'm in.
Speaking of Marvel and speaking of Disney fears, Jenny, ratings were down again for ABC's 8-episode Marvel event series Agent Carter, which both Jenny and I love. Jenny sent this article in so that she could get up on her soapbox and tell you how great the show is. I will back her on that 100% and pointedly ask you, why are you not watching the show?
Watch the show.
The show received a 1.3 rating, which is down 13%. That's still 4.6 million total viewers, which if it were a cable network show, it'd be popping the champagne. But it did have to take a week off because of the State of Union address, so that didn't help. But this show has not, it started way strong and it didn't stay as strong, but it stayed strong. And it's not fallen off. It's a really good series. Go watch it. Damn it.
It's in fact, I think there was a strategy, like I don't know this for a fact, but I got a faint whiff in 2 of the episodes of episodes out of order, which is they had this incredibly strong pilot, which was a 2-hour pilot. Then they had a really great follow-up episode. And then things started happening. And I think they knew they were on a week off. And so they maybe swapped some stuff around or something, because it didn't all quite lock in. And you can see the promos for things that are upcoming that I think are going to be fantastic. And just to say, like, if I could just make the appeal, let me just make an appeal from me, Jenny, to you, current Geek audience who is not watching Agent Carter. This is a tremendous show. It has a great lead. Here, let me give it in geek terms, okay? So first of all, everybody's a Xander on this show.
All right.
Okay, so Buffy the Vampire Slayer fans, there's not just one Xander. They all get their Xander moment in every episode. Everybody gets to have the sass, and everybody gets to like be the heart.
Yeah.
Everybody in this nascent SSR is allowed to be both flawed as a human, whether it's by their own time period, like being a stand-up white male in the 40s, like you're just going to have a certain point of view about Peggy Carter. But they're also allowed to still be good at their job, which is almost like a network cliche at this point, but they do it really organically and wonderfully. Like they're good detectives and they're on good cases. And then the thing I really love the most is how much they are just leaning into the sadness of Agent Peggy Carter, trying to get past the fact that like she had the guy of her dreams and now she doesn't. And I love it. I just love it. So please, and also there's these great Easter eggs. You like Easter eggs? There's tons of them in there.
You like comic books? You like Easter eggs? You like Captain America?
You could make an Easter omelet out of those Easter eggs.
Sure.
Yeah.
The whole 40s motif. I feel like that was just meant Tom was going to be in regardless. Like,
yeah, that's part of it.
They had you at day one, but here's the thing. I feel a little more comfortable about the lower ratings, and like you said, if this is a cable network, that they'd be over the moon. I feel a little more comfortable about it because this is ABC and it is a Disney-owned property and it is in their best interest to further their Marvel dominance. Mm-hmm. I feel like even though and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. also experienced a dip, not quite as bad, but a dip, but they kept with it and stayed with it, renewed it. Do you feel like, Jenny and Tom, that they'll probably they'll luck out here? You know, if this was on Fox or something else, there'd probably be no way it would get renewed, but because they have all these other interests, they are willing to sort of take the hard with the good.
Yes, and here's why: is because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has to take time off during the year, and it has to take about 8 weeks off, maybe sometimes more. And you know what goes great there? Agent Carter, and like all the things that they get to set up and then knock down in the difference of like 60 years. So you've got like stuff happening in the 40s and then that show ends and then you get Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and you get to refer to that. Like that is like the great cycle of Easter egg. I mean, they have to keep it. And the other thing too is like they've got these two really great female showrunners who used to run Reaper, if you remember that show. And it was such a great, strong show. Yeah. And I like could not be happier that they are succeeding like this. They're like two of the nicest people. And I cannot say enough about watching this show. Like, give it a shot, please.
I haven't talked to a soul who hasn't liked it. Like everyone I've talked to likes it. So I don't think it's an issue of this may not be for somebody. I think it may be for everybody. It's a risky thing. This thing is set in a weird time period. I've maintained this since day one. If Mad Men was on NBC, we wouldn't have gotten all the seasons of Mad Men. You would have made it maybe one season. They wouldn't have stuck with it. And
would have had more people watching it. That's the weird part.
Yeah, that
right?
is the weird part.
Because it would have been on broadcast, it would have got more people. But because it was on broadcast, it would have needed even more people.
That's an obnoxious truth of modern day TV stuff. So
hence Netflix.
Yes. Hence the Netflix. And the worst case is maybe this ends up there. But let's all hope it remains. And I will take up the charge, Jenny. Good job. You've sold it to me.
All right.
Nicely done.
All right. And since we didn't have a show last week, we didn't get a chance to talk about Windows 10. So just real briefly, I wanted to get a little bit in about the fact that Windows 10 will be free to everybody who has Windows 7 or greater. And of course, I think more pertinent to the geeky side of things, HoloLens. Windows Holographic is a technology developed in partnership with NASA's JPL. Every Windows 10 install will have a holographic API, allowing software and hardware makers to use augmented reality functions. And Microsoft is making HoloLens as an example of hardware that takes advantage of it. It's wireless, has see-through HD lenses, spatial sounds, a separate holographic processing unit, or HPU, that tracks your eye and head motion. Holo Studio is software that they're putting out there that lets users create objects with holograms and then 3D print them. I think as time has passed over the past couple weeks, I forgot just how many cool things are associated with this project. It's not just the goofy glasses.
Mm-hmm. I think the more exciting thing here is the API itself. The fact that they're making a hardware proof of concept basically to kind of go with it, I think is important, and they need that. Whether it does everything they showed on stage, I still have some doubts, and I have doubts about, they're calling things holograms that aren't really holograms. There's a lot happening here that's a little bit weird for me, but the API and what people will do with that is very exciting, because this is, a standard installation of Windows moving forward. That means strength on the platform. That means lots of opportunity. But overall, I couldn't be more excited about everything they showed, including Windows 10. I think Microsoft's really making a play to have everyone like them again, and not just because they want us to like them again, but because they want to make products that we like. And I'm about to make a statement that's going to blow all your minds. Here it is. My favorite, and I now believe maybe one of the best, if not the best, current Gmail email clients on the iPhone, so I've already mixed two big companies together, is the new, and I know it's rebranded from a thing they purchased, but it's the new Microsoft Outlook client on the iPhone. And I can't believe I'm saying that, because desktop Outlook and I have a very horrible old school relationship. I hated it.
But there's no connection between those two things.
There's none. There's none. In fact, if anything, it's a disservice, because if you have a negative impression, it's not doing you any favors. But as a standalone portable client for iPhone users, it's awesome. It's really, really good. I've tossed everything in favor of it. So there's the weird world we're moving into, where everyone wants to embrace Microsoft again. But yeah, all this stuff's very exciting. Jenny, what of this Microsoft 10 or Windows 10 stuff are you most excited about?
Give me Minecraft blocks, and please allow me to kind of pretend to touch them in my living room, and that will be awesome. And I ran this by an 8-year-old, right, to see, because I don't play Minecraft. I am aware of its existence. It's one of those things, much like your World of Warcraft, where I just decided I need those hours. Yeah. I can't have all the things. But we described this to an 8-year-old that I know, and this was the reaction. May I have that for Christmas? And done, sold. It was over. Yeah. So if that world can be expanded for me, I will be a happy camper, and I will be a Microsoft person again for that.
Well, there you go. I mean, I'm happy to move back to having Microsoft more a part of my life. And as they're showing themselves willing to say, look, we've got some cool ideas, cool technology, cool software, and we don't need to force you to use our less than great platforms to run it. That to me is enough to have me then go, well, maybe I want more of your platforms then, because if you're going to be this willing to push your stuff around, Google did that, and I think to their success, being willing to have their services on other platforms and also compete with a platform. I mean, to me it's a good move all around. And Tom's probably blue in the face from talking about Microsoft over the last 2 weeks, but if you had to sum it all up, Tom, all of this seems like a good move, but as someone who follows tech this closely, is Microsoft back in the good graces of everyone?
No, they're not yet. Yeah. But they made a lot of moves toward doing that. Now, the big questions are, does HoloLens actually come out? Do people use it? Do people like it? More importantly, I think people forget about that API. Do developers start building things for that API that make people excited and make people happy? Yeah. Do people take up Windows 10 in the numbers that Microsoft hopes in order to get them to use these platforms? But I do think they're doing lots of things right. And that's the key to this, is that they are saying, Satya Nadella particularly is saying, the world has changed and we need to move towards those changes. We can't rely on Windows as a cash cow anymore. We need to get off the crack now before it kills us. That's what IBM has done so successfully for decades and decades. They used to be a tabulating machine company way back in the day. Then they became a typewriter company. Then they became, they just keep pivoting and they keep pivoting. And that's what Microsoft needs to do. And they're making their money on the cloud. And so very wisely, they're saying, you know what we do? We provide a bunch of cloud services, and we don't make people have to be on Windows first and best. We still make Windows. We still make a great product with Windows, but let's get as many people who don't want to use Windows using our products as well.
Yeah, and the irony is a bunch of people are going to start using Windows with 10, because 10 is getting, a lot of really good press. People are excited about the change. You get it for free if you have 7 and 8. Like it's kind of a no-brainer. Like I'm actually excited about Windows for the first time since probably probably 98 when I was excited about it.
See, I liked XP. You weren't excited about XP? Huh?
I don't remember being. Yeah, I guess I was.
You know, when XP launched, people just pissed all over it because it was Windows, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't perfect. But begrudgingly, over the first couple of years, people realized, oh, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, that first pack, or what do they call those? The first
the service pack.
Service pack was a hell of a service pack, and I remember it. I mean, games took off in a bigger way on there. So yeah, I guess you're right. But it was more of a slow burn, and it felt kind of evolutionary. This feels like, yeah, we've had some trouble. Vista was a nightmare. 7 was at least okay. 8 has been a nightmare again, and now we're serious. And I'm kind of back into being excited for the first time in a long time.
You're not the only one. When I was at CES, I went out to dinner and I ended up sitting next to 2 guys from Microsoft. And they were there for meetings and they were showing off all their cool products that we won't get to see for like 5 years, if ever. But they were excited about Microsoft. They were super excited, and like they didn't have to be excited to me because I was just sitting there and have a notebook in my hand. Like they wanted to know what I thought of Satya Nadella. They wanted to know like how he was being perceived because they are starting to have that old company feel. At least these 2 guys of like, is it okay to be proud of my company again? I think it might be good to be proud of my company again. Like it was just a really lovely conversation with 2 people who were like super psyched about the future of their company. So.
Well, there you go. You get rid of Ballmer, you get back to business. That's terrible. I'm sure Ballmer was fine. Developers, that's right. All right, we are going to now do a thing I love on the show, which is play our little pop quiz.
America scores and wins.
All right. It is time for Jenny to put on her trivia cap and answer some questions about a topic she's not even aware of yet.
Oh, boy.
I'll tell her what that is in a minute. If you get an answer correctly, if you get it wrong, Tom will keep score the entire time. At the end, he will tell you how you did. You have nobody to compare your score against, so you're just fighting yourself. Here's your category. Whoops. There we go. This is
like
all
going into that tree on Dagobah.
This is J.R.R. Tolkien trivia. I know you're a huge fan of all
but
his.
So much can go wrong in
yeah.
this. There's just too much information.
It could go very wrong. So here we go.
All the questions will be asked in Quenya.
That's right.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Nerds.
Will you accept a Cinder and Subsect dialect?
Nerds.
As an answer, of course, yes.
Nerds. I just know he was gray for a while, then white later. Everything's fine. Run, you fools. Fly, you fools. Excuse me. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Let's start with the first question. What is the name of Gandalf's sword?
Glamdring.
You are correct. Nicely done. I was worried there for a second. Next question. What was the capital of Gondor before Minas Tirith?
Osgiliath.
You are correct. Oh, this is gonna be a breeze. What is the name of Smeagol's cousin?
Deagle.
Oh man, Smeagol and Deagle hanging out. You know.
What? Mom wasn't very creative. Or aunt.
What are the names of the 2 towers?
Orthanc.
All right.
And Minas. It's not Minas Morgul. It's the one that comes down. Minas Morgul. I'm just gonna go with it.
I'll give you the first one was and the second one, and that one is Baradur. Baradur.
I think I need a half a point for Minas.
You're going to get 3/4 of a point. You got a half a point for Orthanc, and then you get a 1/4 of a point for correcting Baradur's pronunciation.
You knew I was going to get that wrong, though. All right. How old is Bilbo Baggins at the beginning of the Lord of the Rings trilogy?
This is 111th birthday.
You are correct. 111 is correct. What? You're gonna act these out. This is amazing. All right. What is the name of the necklace that Arwen wears in the Lord of the Rings films?
Oh, bugger.
So this might be where things peel off because, book fans and movie fans, they don't always.
The thing I looked at during the awkward romance scenes in that movie.
You've
got a friend in the diamond business.
It is the Even Star is the correct answer.
She is the Even Star, though, so I protest mildly.
Yeah.
All right. We'll give you a 1/10 of a point in recognition of your protest.
Nice. All right. What is the name of the stone used by Sauron to communicate with Saruman?
It's a Palantir.
You are correct. Nicely done. although it could either be Palantir or Palantir Stone. I don't know why he spelled that out. Anyway, next and final question. What is the name of the dragon in The Hobbit?
For real?
Yep.
Smaug.
You got it. It was all about pronunciation. You got it. You nailed it. It was all about whether you would say that right or not, and if you'd say Smaug or some other thing. Nicely done. She pretty much nailed it, but Tom, let's tabulate anyway with an IBM tabulation machine. How'd she do?
With a CRTC pre-IBM days tabulating machine. Thank you.
Nice.
A 6.85.
Wow. Amazing. That's intense. That's maybe the best score we've had in a while, is it not? I think it is. It's right up there. Way to go.
Well, we've had thousands, but, who's counting?
Well, no, nobody anymore. All right, that leads us into this.
The future promises even more startling things to come.
So we used to have this show. It was called Forecast, and that went away. And now we have a segment on this show called Forecast, and it stays. And it's all about predicting the future, sometimes in nerdy, scientific, and other ways. These were all written down by our guest, Jenny. Jenny, I would ask you to pick your favorite.
Oh, okay. J.J. Abrams will be nominated for a Best Director for his work on the upcoming Star Wars film, mostly out of gratitude for not screwing it up. Joss Whedon will not get a nomination for Ultron because superheroes and robots.
Wow. That is amazing. I'm going to say that I think... okay. It's possible, since he's not doing a trilogy, right? He's only doing this first one. Directing, I mean.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, I don't think. Wait, did they named a director for 8, or is that just a rumor?
8 is named. It's Ryan.
Okay, so yeah,
the brick director. Yeah. What's his name? The guy that did Looper. I can't think of his name. Ryan Johnson.
Ryan,
whatever it is. I don't know how you spell it. Anyway, that guy's great.
That's official. Okay.
That is official. And third film, not so much. And they have these offshoots, which are different directors. The Godzilla director's doing the first offshoot. Now with a new writer, something changed there. Writing. Well, Widow was, but now he's not. I don't know. Something's going on there. But with this whole thing, this all just depends. Because so Peter Jackson, they wait for the third one, right? And then they're like, all right, give it to him. But we can't for the first two. But this one where it's a one-off from Abrams, they either have to or they don't. And I think this thing has to be exceptional for it to be considered, because Star Wars is still and traditionally thought of as like kids' fare, and I don't see how it wins. It has to be really
many
good.
Academy Award nominations the first time around for the sheer brilliance of it, and I think he will get a nomination. I'm not saying he's going to win.
Yeah,
I'm crazy. But I think they are looking to start celebrating younger directors in the Academy, and this is the moment where they get to say, you saved Star Wars, kid. Good job.
Yeah, 46-year-old kid, though.
That's young. Are you kidding? Have you seen the Academy voters? That is like a young pup.
That's true, I guess. They all want to give it to Clint Eastwood anytime he does anything. And he's 84. Boy, hats off to that guy, by the way. Jeez Louise. How do you just keep pumping out great stuff like that and be that old? Anyway, I don't know. I hope you're right. I mean, wouldn't it be cool because to me it would be about Abrams, and it would be about his success and all that. But it would also be a nod at this thing as for what it is, which is a thing that seismically shaped movies until the end of time. And it needs the recognition.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just don't have the sense, and maybe I'm not familiar enough with the Academy, which I'm not. I just don't have the sense that the prejudice against space films can be overcome by the desire to recognize young directors. Even I don't get the sense that the Academy cares about the rehabilitation of Star Wars. Star Wars originally got nominations because it was new and no one had done anything like it. And Lucas was a young director. This isn't new. So, I mean, why didn't he get the same for Star Trek? Then?
Allow me to answer your question in 17 parts. No, I'm just kidding. So all right. So here's my theory. So this year and now I'm talking Best Picture. I'm not talking Best Director, right? There are 10 slots for Best Picture, and you did not see Guardians of the Galaxy, the blockbuster, big budget movie that should have gone in the Avatar spot in the 10, right? Yeah. Did not make it in there. And I feel like the Academy biffed it a little bit. Now, and their younger vote, they biffed it in a lot of ways this year, but they will be looking to show that they respect the money makers among them. And that's what that 10 slot was for, is not just the prestige films, but the movies that make the money and the movies that have cultural impact beyond a month in December, right? And so they missed it a little bit this year. And so I think they were waiting, because like once every 20 years, they do give it to Return of the King, or they do give it to, a really big blockbuster movie. I think they were waiting for Star Wars. So maybe it may end up being more of a Best Picture nomination. But I also think, and to answer your Star Trek question, it's because Star Trek don't ever get no respect from the Academy, and it never will, because it was originally a TV property, and so say we all. We're done.
It's kind of
right?
a good point. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I wonder. I mean, Tom makes a good point. I don't know. I wonder how it'll go. Like I always go back to '94 and think about how Forrest Gump won and it beat. And Forrest Gump, good movie. Don't get me wrong, but that was a huge blockbuster, giant sort of crowd pleaser movie from top to bottom, and it beat out Shawshank Redemption and Pulp Fiction, two movies that didn't make near the box office that did, but was pretty obvious to see on the face of it from a critical eye. Those are better films. I know it's a subjective thing, but I think most people would agree one of those two films were also nominated, probably were more likely to be winners there. Well, they gave it to Forrest Gump. Maybe this is that year where amazing things come out, and they may not give it. I'm not saying they'll win, so I'm still with you on it. Probably won't win, but to get nominated, I think it's even more likely now because we have 10 nomination slots. And they didn't back then.
For best film, though, not best director.
Just for best film.
I'm going for the full best director. Like they will, the marketing department at Disney will get this for J.J. Abrams. This is what I'm saying.
But best director only has 5.
Yeah. So I'm saying they're going to push hard.
That's a tight slot.
If the movie's good. If the movie's really good.
I guess my final hesitation on accepting your thesis is the fact that, like, when a Gravity or an Avatar or something gets it, it's usually like the justification is, well, it wasn't just special effects and space story. It had a deeper purpose. Like, so Avatar was like Dances with Wolves, right? It had a great story. At least that was the rationalization. So I guess I'm not even objecting to what you're saying. I'm saying this story is going to have something that the voters in the Academy can latch onto and say, well, it was more than just a Star Wars film. It was an important film on its own.
Allow me to paint you a picture.
All right.
3 generations of one family walk into the Grauman's Chinese Theater on Sunset Boulevard, holding hands in declining order of age. And every single one of them walks out crying and happy. And that thing is going to get a nomination.
All right. I cannot, whether or not you're right about nomination or winning or any of that, I really admire your, you've painted the picture. You've done it. And that's a really interesting visual. Although it's not going to quite be that. I mean, I was 8 years old when Star Wars came out. I am now 45. My son is 15. It's a little janky on that whole, like, it's not like a grandpa, a middle-aged son, and a tiny kid going to be walking out of there.
Oh, there are some young grandpas out there.
I guess so.
For some reason, when you were painting that picture, I was imagining the ascent of man coming in. Like a Neanderthal and
one's a fish.
Australopithecus.
Yeah, some sort of fish that grew legs. Who knows?
A coelacanth.
Well, I hope you're right. Let's hope that comes true and that we're all better for it. I'm really excited about that movie. And it kind of leads into today's email, which came to us, by the way, at this email address, currentgeek@gmail.com. You can also leave us voice messages that we'll play on the show. Keep them short and interesting at 801-471-0462. This email reads, this is from Jill and NZ. I assume New Zealand?
New Zealand, probably.
All right.
So you'd say NZ.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I screwed that up. Dear Tom and Scott and guest. That would be you, Jenny.
Oh, hello.
I love this show so much! ! I especially like how you mix technology news and nerdy stuff you have so much passion for. If you could both name, and I think it means all three of us, name one thing in 2015 you're most excited about in these areas, what would it be? Thanks, Jill. Well, I think we know what Jenny's is, at least in film.
Actually, it's the other one.
Oh, really? What is it?
It's Age of Ultron.
Oh, wow. All right.
And I had these other two predictions, which was there will be a big push for Joss Whedon to get a Best Screenplay nod, because I read that Robert Downey Jr. read the Ultron script, which, according to all reports, is a very pure Joss Whedon project, where even the first Avengers, he was under like pretty strict mandate, because there was, it's hard to remember now, there was a vague bit of nervousness about having a TV director, even one like Joss, do the Avenger movie. But now it's the Joss verse, right? And I am excited about that script. And I think that if he gets full reign to be the full Whedon on that script with those special effects and these already established characters, that Avengers Age of Ultron is the movie I am most excited about in 2015.
I'm equally excited. And yeah, I do remember how nervous I was. I remember thinking not so much that Whedon couldn't do it, that they wouldn't give him what he needed to do it. It felt like, oh no, is this one of those deals where he's going to be stuck in the quote-unquote system and not be able to do what he does so well? And I was wrong. And if he's even able to do that more here, oh man, that movie's going to be rad. Tom, what's yours?
Windows 10. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm pretty excited about Windows 10. It's not the thing I'm most excited about. Yeah, I think right now, and maybe it's just because we were just talking about it, that Star Wars Force Awakens is the thing I'm most excited about.
Yeah.
I was the one leading the charge, forcing the entire family to go watch Big Hero 6 simply so we could watch the trailer of Force Awakens, even though I had watched it twice that morning already, once on my phone when it first came out, and once on the laptop with everybody else. I finally got around to doing what Brian Brushwood had been bidding me to do for months, and read How Star Wars Conquered the Universe, which to me felt like a really nice polished version of The Secret History of Star Wars, which is a PDF that you can only get on the internet because it was never published, and The Official Making of Star Wars and Droid Maker, which I've also read. I went in this past couple of days, watched the 2003 Tartakovsky Clone Wars, because I had watched it on Netflix DVD, but I didn't remember much about it. So yeah, I'm kind of excited.
That Tartakovsky thing is something special, man.
It really is good.
Freaking amazing, yeah. All right, I'm going to agree with both of you, and that seems like a cop-out, but it's true. Both those things are extremely exciting for me this year. But I often am most excited about the thing I don't know about yet. I love being surprised by something rad, and I feel like 2015's got something in there, and I don't know what it is yet. There's a couple of Westerns I'm keeping my eye on that I'm super stoked about, and I love Westerns, but those others seem like the obvious choice, and they are. I mean, Star Wars probably number one, Avengers very close. But if I'm to pick a third thing, I think it's going to be one of those things that comes out of nowhere, some weird sleeper hit, either on TV or movies, and it's just going to blow my mind. And I love that.
Or some product that comes out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. Like some new thing that's just a real step forward in some weird way that we just can't predict. I love those ones where we all think we're so smart, we got it all figured out, and then something comes and reminds us that we don't know anything. We don't know jack. And it may come in the form of a new video game. I don't know what it'll be. But 2015 will have one of those. And I'm excited for whatever the hell that's going to be. Please keep your emails coming. currentgeek@gmail.com. Thank you, Jill, for yours. And again, that number is 801-471-0462. Jenny, you were a fantastic guest.
Oh, thank you.
You nailed it. Tell people where they can find you so they can hear more of you.
So I am in the post show of the Daily Tech News Show every day. So if you like video shows with Jenny in them briefly, you can have that. I'm on Jenny J, JENNIEJ 23 on Twitter. And most importantly, I just launched a storytelling podcast called Tell It Anyway, which is what you say when someone says, oh, I have a story, but I can't tell you, or I have a story, I don't know if I should tell you. Tell it anyway. So we just taped the first episode last night, and it's still a demo, it's still a pilot, but the story that my husband Matt Flanagan tells about the Batman of Wellesley, Massachusetts is worth it. So that's at tellitanyway.com. I don't have like an RSS feed or anything set up yet, but go check it out. It's kind of fun.
Sounds great to me. Tom Merritt, anything you got going on before we go?
Yeah, I don't have much.
Yeah, just sitting around.
Scott.
Yeah,
Cool.
Drinking out of your mug. Oh, look at
Out
that.
of my Daily Tech News Show mug and enjoying my Daily Tech News Show mouse pad.
Yeah, probably got a DTNS shirt around there someplace. You just can't reach it. Oh, he can reach it.
Got to recharge my phone with my Daily Tech News Show phone charger. But no, nothing to point.
All right. I recognize that mug manufacturer. They do ours as well, and they're awesome.
Yeah,
People
really
should
good.
totally get those. And a reminder that the current push on DTNS's Patreon is to get me and Veronica on there. So go up your amount.
Yeah, of course. Any current geek folks who do enjoy Daily Tech News Show would like to see Scott like roped into having to spend even more time podcasting.
Yeah.
Which you would like. Go to patreon.com/acedetect. If you get some value out of the show and you want to give some value back, it'll help us get to that level and get Scott on board full time.
All into that.
May I just say one thing to these nice frog pants people to whom I have really just met in their full capacity?
Yeah.
I really want Scott Johnson on Daily Tech News Show because when Tom was away and it was Apple Day, yes, Tom Merritt was away on the day the Apple Watch came out.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, this is a perfect example for both of our contributors. We had Scott Johnson and Veronica Belmont on that show, along with Allison Sheridan, who's often on our show and terrific. And they just killed it.
Yeah.
They killed it. I was so terrified that day. And it was like, we are in the hands of professional people.
Yeah.
And like my gratitude and just my skill, like what a good job they did is we need these people. So I'm not saying like, I know you guys hear a lot of Scott Johnson, right?
Yeah.
You do. You hear a lot of Scott Johnson.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't need Scott Johnson on another show. I need Scott Johnson on another show. My show.
The internet is
Please.
lousy with Scott Johnson, but we can do
There you
one
go.
more.
There's my pitch.
Well, awesome. That was very nice of you to say. And we heard the trepidation in your voice, and we decided right there and then, damn it, we have to do this for Jenny. We have to do it for her. Screw Tom. We don't care what he thinks of how this goes. This is all about Jenny that day. All right. I've got plenty going on. You can find all that at Scott Johnson on Twitter. Tom's at Ace Detect, of course. The show is at Current Geek. Andrew Allen does our theme music. Oh, gosh, what else? CurrentGeek.reddit.com is our Reddit. CurrentGeek@gmail.com. CurrentGeek.com. Frogpants.com for lots of other great shows. It's going to do it for us, for me, for Tom, and for Jenny. We'll see you next time. Well done, everyone.
A perfect Friday capper.
I would agree. I have to go to a party I don't want to go to now, and that makes me sad because this was funner than that will be.
No.
I know. It's going to suck.
Great job, Jenny Josephson.
Yay!
Thank you. This was so much fun.
You're
I
great.
feel like someone who was like in their lane right now, and
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Yeah, you fit
Made
right
me
in.
Really happy.
Fit right into the vibe. Exactly the kind of thing we're going for every time we do it. It's you were on the money. Let's put it that way.
For sure.
Way to go. We'll do this again. That just means you're on the list, so you're screwed
All
now.
right, rock and roll.
We have to do it again so she can rope her husband to come out.
Right?
Yeah, Matt almost made it on this one, and he is a holy terror on pop culture and nerd geek stuff. So
Oh, man.
we'll get him on.
Okay. I will take that as a challenge. We will have him on. Have a great weekend, the both of you.
You too, man.
May we do this again, is my hope. Goodbye now. All right. It's going to do it.